I think that it's drastically important to understand that, as human beings, we are relationship. We are relationshipal. I don't know how to say
relationship.
that.
We're relational.
Relational. That's what I'm trying to say. God, and I have a master's degree. I can't. Anyways, yes, we are very relational. Like, we need other humans. We need other things to
make connection.
Connection. That's a good way to put it. And the way that we view food and the way that we view exercise and how it relates in our life is all a learned behavior. It's not like I don't feel like we're born like.
No, we don't come in programmed for that at all.
No, not at all. So we learn these things along the way. Now, some people learn them from their family life, right? Some people learn them from their friends. Some people learn them from their coaches. Some people learn them through social media, right? So everything is a learned behavior, but everything is a relationship in one way or another, right? A goes into B, B goes into C, C goes into D. Everything kind of plays off each other. So if you don't get to the root cause soon enough, then you have all this baggage behind you that's going to make it harder and harder to eliminate, right? And that's kind of what happened with me, is that instead of
getting to the root
right away. And part of the reason is, and this might be another interesting factor in this, is that I didn't have, like, my parents divorced and all that.
Yeah.
I didn't think it affected me. I had a great childhood. My parents were very cordial to each other. I had a great family life on both sides. Like, it didn't seem like it bothered me. Right. But it did.
You were young. You were little.
Consciously, yeah.
Little. And 5 is that imprint. There's psychological emotional development that happens up to 5 that is huge. And anything, because we always say kids are resilient. They're resilient, and they are. And your story is actually a perfect example of resiliency. However, you were resilient in spite of trauma that it didn't affect me.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is actually really important. And I kind of get it, like, obviously in the book, it's a lot more in detail, but I didn't learn all this until I went back to therapy and that's what helped me through. But that sort of abandonment, if you want to call it, that's what I saw it as my parents getting divorced. Now, there's no rational reasoning behind that. There's no reason I should have felt abandoned. My dad was always around. My mom was always around. Like, I had everything I needed, right? Rationally, that's not there, but that is the thought that kind of stayed with me throughout my life. And I talked about the loss of my friend, right? Yeah. Died. Just very tragic car accident, right? He was 18 years old, just weeks before his 19th birthday. We were freshmen in college. I, in a way, took that as abandonment.
He abandoned you.
And then a few months later, my girlfriend, very serious, longtime girlfriend, we broke up. I took that as an abandonment. And then my family started moving away to different parts of the country. I took that as an abandonment. So it's this one little thing at 5 years old that, although it's really nobody's fault, because, like, it didn't bother me. I didn't think of that, but I should have probably been in therapy and talked about this little by little, and maybe it would have came out, right? Maybe somehow.
Well, at 5, you wouldn't have had the language to express it, even if you did know. If at 5 you had the awareness, which you wouldn't because you were 5. But let's say you did. Say you were like some genius level little 5-year-old, and still the ability to emotionally, like intellectually, recognize the emotion and then have the ability to communicate it. It just wasn't going to happen.
It wasn't going to happen.
Sadly. So it just sits there.
It just goes to show how those things just escalate throughout your life.
Yeah.
And, looking back on it, just kind of going back to our relationship talk and stuff, I am very, very big on relationships and trust and loyalty. And I feel very hurt when those things are not there. And I think from an early age, I learned to connect with people and hold on to them in my life. And then if they left, it kind of sent me down a spiral, and it just little by little happened. And then, the other stuff we talked about in the book and everything kind of just escalated quickly, but it's using all those experiences now that I've had in my past that I've been able to work through therapy and understand. That's the other thing. It's one thing to recognize it. It's the other thing to understand how to, break it down, what it all means, decipher, if it's realistic or not, moving forward.
Right.
And I think that has made me a better coach, because there's certain things that I can look for, like I said, in my clients, and kind of understand, like, maybe we need to have a conversation about something, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's nothing, and that's great if it's nothing, but maybe we need to have a conversation, because it could have been something that maybe if someone just had a conversation with me at a younger age, maybe something could have came out and I could have kept from going down that route, right? Now, I don't blame it on anybody by any means. It's just the reality of life. We all have circumstances that lead to where we're at right now.
Right.
But I try to look at that, especially when it comes from the food and exercise component, because I can easily understand that, and I can understand how it can take control of you, I should say, and how you don't feel in control of your life. Like, I talked to my therapist, and I described in the book, there was a lot of times like I felt like I was outside of my body looking down, like I was a puppet, like somebody was doing all this stuff. I knew what I was doing was not good, but I couldn't control myself, because it was just, when you're that deep into a mental health issue or depression, OCD, it's very debilitating. And that's how I felt for many years. Even with recovery, it was not a linear path.
I can't imagine. That would be like dynamic and all over the place.
I denied it for a long time. I mean, I was in inpatient facilities.
What did you deny? That you had anorexia, that you didn't have control, that you had trauma that wasn't, like, what was it that you were denying specifically? Or was it all the above?
So I denied the eating disorder. I denied that it was an issue whatsoever. I was like, this is my lifestyle. Like, what's wrong? Who's to tell me what I can and can't do? Like, I wasn't grasping the seriousness of my health issue. Because my brain chemistry wasn't correct. I was malnourished. I was obsessive compulsive. I had generalized anxiety disorder. Like, I had all these things that were like compounding on each other. And I just could not think logically. And I needed to get healthy from a physical standpoint first. I needed to get nutrients.
I needed to get your brain fed for starters.
And then once that was fed, I was able to navigate the other stuff. Now, it didn't come right away. Like, no. Me years of exposure therapy to kind of get out of my OCD.
Because you kind of built a house of cards, really, like this emotional house of cards. So you had to like really make some switch those cards out for like building blocks.
Yeah, because those were my comfort zones. That was it's almost kind of weird to say, but my obsessions and compulsions and my exercise, all that became my family, because
you're familiar.
I shut people out. Like, I shut my family out. I shut friends out. I was isolated.
Was that because you can't control people, but you can control everything else? I
think so. I think that's a really good way to put it. It was also because I didn't want to hear people tell me what I was doing was bad, because it was the only thing that made me feel somewhat normal, quote unquote normal.
It was kind of working for you.
World. In my world, yes.
Yeah, it was working for you in your world.
I shut family out, I shut friends out, and it took it took a couple different facilities for me to finally accept it. And once I accepted it, recovery came quicker, not easier, but it came a little bit quicker in terms of I was more willing to
let go of the control. Let go of the control and let a process of healing happen, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a really good way to put it. Like, I would be okay. Now, as before, where I would take maybe 1 step forward and 3 steps back. Right. I was taking like 3 steps forward now and 1 step back.
Okay.
So the ratio had kind of turned around. So I was okay with being not okay. You know what I mean? Like, it was very uncomfortable to break out of the zone. And even to this day, listen, I like structure. I like schedules. I like all that stuff, but it doesn't control my life. I could literally, I had to, just to talk about how intense it was, I couldn't start my meals until it was a certain time on the clock. I had to do the exact same things every single day, or else I had panic attacks. I had to try to outdo myself, which led into the exercise compulsion.
Compulsion.
I couldn't go anywhere, eat out anywhere. I couldn't do any of that stuff. Everything had to be in order in the apartment, everything, labels and cabinets, and everything had to be perfect. It was a very military-esque type lifestyle.
And that kind of the lifestyle and the environment you're describing makes it really easy to not have to work out cutting people out. because you just create an environment that's so sterile with such thick walls that nobody can get in anyway. So you're like, I mean, it's like this, it's almost like these default systems of control subconsciously come into place, and the behaviors and the emotional attachments to certain things become so strong that we're just building barriers that we're not at. I don't even know how aware how much the awareness is, but it's happening because that's what you need. This is what feels good. This is what's in control. And it just by default keeps people out.
It does. And, you know, part of keeping those people out in my life, to me, was protecting them. And what I mean by that is I was in bad shape. I was literally a shell of myself, which is where the title of the book.
The title of the book, A Shell of Myself.
I was a skeleton. I was empty inside.
Yeah.
I was just drained, and I could see the hurt that it caused my family. And I did not want to see it. I did not want to see their hurt from seeing me. And I did not want anybody to intervene. I mean, I even went all the way across the country to San Diego for 6 months because I just wanted to get the hell away from everybody.
So what was that moment when you went, okay, it's an eating disorder? Like when did you, because you talk about awareness, but what I love is that, because I kind of get a little bit miffed, like at hearing all this talk about awareness. Okay, great. We all have awareness, but then you attach to that the word understanding, which thank you for doing that, because you can have all the awareness in the world, but if you don't understand it or what to do with it or how to work with it, your awareness really doesn't serve you in any way at all. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right, but I get so irritated about the whole awareness thing. Great, you got awareness. Now what are you going to do with it? What does it mean for you?
I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, I can write you the best plan on paper, but it doesn't mean you can't follow it.
Exactly. So like awareness is great. I mean, but I mean, walking around with your eyes open so you don't run into a wall is awareness. Okay, so awareness can come at various levels. Awareness can come at levels of that benign. Like I'm just not, because my eyes are open, I'm going to not run into things.
Right.
But when we get into deeper things, more meaningful things, much more impactful things in our lives, if you lack the understanding of what you're aware of, how really aware are you?
Yeah, you're not. I mean, so when I was in the hospital and they basically told me, okay, this is what's going on, right? This is like, we're going to have to we got to send you to a treatment facility. Like I was in denial. Like I was like, no, I fought it so hard. That first treatment facility I was in for about 4 or 5 months, I think. I didn't take it seriously. So as a guy, as a male, I was in an eating disorder with pretty much all females. Like I had my own room, obviously.
Yeah.
I just kept my compulsions in the room. I would do exercise in between, them coming, and, I had no supervision. Like I was in a position where I had to be by myself, which wasn't good for me. Plus I just wanted to do whatever I could just to get out of there. It wasn't like I was looking for recovery. I was just looking to get out of there so I can get back to doing.
You were just on good facility behavior.
Yeah, basically. And so they sent me down to a place right outside of LA from my base up in Seattle. And I spent months there, and then afterwards I came back and finished out the rest of my contract. I didn't have much time left, anyways, after that. But after that, I moved back to Florida, and I was on my own. Like I was not recovered. I was not anywhere close to being recovered. Now my dad lives down here, which was good, but I mean, I had my own apartment. I was on my own. I was for many months just kind of floundering. I mean, I had, money saved up, and I just wasn't doing anything. And I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. Right. And kind of relapsed some more, got worse, moved away for a while, came back. Yeah. And then I can remember this vividly. I was sitting on my back porch. Well, it's not really a porch. It's like in the apartments here in Florida, there's like open airways and there's stairs. I was sitting back on one of the stairways looking out. This was the summer. I was looking out off to the distance, and I saw like this storm rolling in. Like, those good Florida.
It was good. Yeah. That come in the evening, early evening. Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. It was like early evening. And I was sitting there, and I was like chain smoking cigars like crazy at the time, little Black and Milds. I was drinking myself silly. And I was just like, I think I like looked in the phone or something or took a picture or something. And I was like, I just kind of looked at myself and I'm like, what am I doing? Like there's no aha moment. There wasn't like, you would have thought that maybe almost dying in the hospital would have been an aha moment. Like, oh, I need to take this seriously. No, it was me watching this storm come in, I was drunk, I was just in a haze, and I was just like, what am I doing? This isn't me. And it almost was like a metaphor, like this storm was rolling, right? And I know that sounds so cheesy. And I almost was like, when I wrote it in the book, I'm like, are people going to think this is fake? Like, is this too cheesy? But it was honest God truth. I was just looking at him like, I'm weak. I can't do anything. I do not want to do this. I'm going to die. And I threw the cigar out. I dumped out the rest of my drink, and I went inside. And I think it was like the next day or the day after, I talked to my dad, and I'm like, I need help.